My name is Elowen Hartley, and I'm 31 years old. It was the kind of lunch break that lasts 3 minutes longer than grace. Sunlight pinned the dash of my car, a hot square that made the steering wheel too warm to touch. I chewed half a sandwich and scrolled, a ritual I used to call turning my brain to static before returning to the office. Then the algorithm, that paper-thin god, handed me a miracle disguised as a joke. An old classmate had reshared a post he thought was hilarious, Nathan's post. My fiancé, 29. Blue eyes that convinced waiters to free pour. Arms he liked to fold when he said things like, "Babe, it's just how men are." The post wasn't meant for me. It came from a private men's group, wedding bros swapping tips like grill season secrets. But someone hit share, and Nathan's words jumped the fence. "Can't wait to train my wife properly," he'd written, bellied up to the easy applause. Already got her paying for everything while I save for the wedding. AKA, my secret vacation fund after the honeymoon. Bye-bye girls' nights. Hello honey-do lists. Women are so easy to manage if you control the bedroom. Future husband win. She doesn't know. Laugh cry emojis. High five gifs. The comments pooled like stale beer. One caught me by the throat. Megan, yes, that Megan, his ex who was just a friend now, and better as buddies, trust me, wrote, "King behavior. Remember when you made her sell that death trap motorcycle?" Nathan replied, "Safety first. That bike had to go. Next, her stupid trivia nights. Married women don't need random bar crowds." I didn't feel heat. I felt precision. Ice. The kind that makes everything bright and cruelly clear. The motorcycle. Mine. The one Dad and I rebuilt 2 summers before his heart forgot how. Nathan had called it reckless. He had cried, actual tears, about imagining your body on asphalt until I sold it for half what it was worth. He boxed the wrench set Dad left me, said it looked messy. I called it a compromise. Now it read like a play. I took screenshots. Every angle, every comment. My hands didn't shake. I thought about the $8,000 deposit I'd put down at Nathan's dream venue because it meant the world to him. I thought about the $3,400 charge for a tux package that somehow ended up on my card last month. I opened Facebook, found his public reshare, "Hubris is bad at privacy," and typed, "Good luck with that training program. Wedding's off." Then I called the venue. The manager sounded gently confused when I said, "Yes, I understand it's non-refundable. Please cancel." Confusion turned into a careful confirmation. A line in a ledger turned into a door closing softly behind me. Next, my credit card company. "I didn't authorize the tux package, I explained, voice even. "It was purchased under false pretenses. They opened an investigation. My sandwich sat like an artifact in wax paper." Next, passwords. Netflix, Hulu. Every streaming login Nathan had philanthropically shared with his cousins and a coworker whose name I'd never learned. Then the wedding party group chat. Weddings canceled. Nathan can explain why. The nuclear reactor started in my pocket. 23 misdialed calls in 10 minutes. Texts that hopscotched from, "What are you doing?" to, "Babe, it's a joke. Let me explain," to, "You're humiliating me." I didn't answer. The thing about a mirror is it doesn't humiliate you. It just shows you your face. By the time I got home, Janet and Megan were already in my living room, with Nathan pacing like a caged TED Talk. Janet's eyes were the color of chilled Pinot Grigio, deceptively friendly. Megan wore the kind of smile you practice in bathrooms, reflective and sharp. Nathan came in first. "Elle, you can't cancel the venue like that." "I already did," I said, dropping my keys into the ceramic dish we'd bought at the night market he said was a little tacky. "I also disputed the tux charge. Streaming passwords changed. You'll survive." He laughed, that performative exhale. "This is insane. It was jokes, babe. Men blow off steam in groups. That's all it was." Megan chimed in, leaning against the mantel the way you lean against something you think you own. "You went through his private messages. That's basically abuse." It was a public reshare, I met her eyes. And even if it weren't, I'm grateful to know who I'm with. Janet's voice slid into the room like silk over a blade. "All couples say foolish things in private. You don't destroy a life over a post, Elowen." "I'm not destroying anything," I said. "I'm preventing a fraud." Nathan's jaw ticked. "What fraud? I was kidding about the savings." Which part was the joke? I asked, opening my phone and tilting the screen toward him. The comments glowed in that cheerful blue that betrays more than it hides. The training part? The secret vacation fund? Or the time you made me sell my dad's motorcycle while texting your ex about it being a win? A flicker. There it was. The moment the mask realizes there's nothing underneath it but skin. That bike was dangerous, he tried again, smaller. You wrote "had to go" with a laughing emoji. My voice didn't rise. Fires can be quiet. Also, tell Janet what you called my mom. The part about her being easy to handle if I cry. I'd love to hear the laughs again. Silence, then. A brittle kind that clings to lampshades. We moved to negotiation faster than I expected. Nathan softened his posture. I could count those tells in my sleep. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Don't cancel everything. We're just under stress. It's done, I said. Venue canceled. Tux disputed. Janet stepped forward, maternal and imperial. You can't just cancel. We've sent invitations. I bought my dress. The shower is next week. I turned to her. That sounds like a you problem. The entitlement broke the surface like something prehistoric. Nathan said, If you do this, I'm keeping the ring. The ring my grandmother left me? I asked. I didn't smile. Try it. Janet blinked. She deserves it after what you've put her through. What I've put him through, I said softly. Your son admitted on the internet to manipulating me financially and emotionally, right down to controlling the bedroom. He boasted about taking my money for his secret trip. Megan, tilting her head, tried a different route. You don't actually think he meant the trip thing. I let myself look at her then, properly. It's a strange thing, staring at the ex, your fiancé, never stopped keeping warm on the shelf like a backup generator. I think he meant all of it, and I think you liked it. Nathan's eyes flicked to her and back. A neuron misfired. I stored it away. Useful later. Counseling, he said suddenly. Let's do couples counseling. I'll change. We'll set rules. You like rules. I like agreements, I said, not training programs. You're blowing up our lives over a joke. Janet tried one last time. You'll regret the public spectacle. I slid my phone into my pocket. He created it. I just turned on the lights. They left. Not in retreat, so much as in rehearsal, already composing the next act where I was villain and Nathan was misunderstood. On the way out, he scooped a box he'd packed with stunning convenience. My noise-canceling headphones, my PS5 controller he borrowed, and, somehow, 3 of my hoodies. I didn't stop him. I didn't need souvenirs from a museum I'd burned down. Night fell, and with it the predictable post, Nathan's public wail. When you find out your woman is a controlling psycho who can't take a joke. Single and traumatized. Venmo handle included for wine funds. I commented with screenshots. He deleted his post within 5 minutes. 5 minutes is long enough for the internet to build a cathedral. When the house finally went quiet, I opened a closet and touched the empty space where Dad's wrench set once lived. My chest had the hollow relief of a tooth pulled clean. In the morning, the phone would ring. The venue would email confirmations. Someone in a corner of the internet would call me cruel. But my spine was made of facts now. Before bed, I drafted a single line to Nathan. Return my grandmother's ring by Friday, or I file a police report for theft. I hit send and turned off the light. Somewhere in the dark, the future clicked into place like a gear finding its teeth. The cold clarity held. By morning, the storm had multiplied. My phone buzzed until it sounded less like a notification and more like a heart in cardiac arrest. Text after text, DM after DM, his cousins, his co-workers, even people I'd met once at a barbecue 3 summers ago. You're cruel. Real women don't humiliate their partners. He was planning his whole life with you, and you threw it away for clout. I didn't answer a single one. Silence is a language they don't expect you to speak. But then came the message that mattered, the ring. I'd told Nathan, Friday, return my grandmother's ring, or I file a theft report. That evening, a knock rattled my door. I expected Nathan, maybe Megan, with her practiced smirk. Instead, it was Robert, his father. His jaw was granite, his hand clenched around a small box. You happy now? He barked the second I opened the door. You broke my boy's heart over nothing. Nothing? I asked. My voice didn't even rise. Your son mocked me online, siphoned money behind my back, and bragged about training me like a dog. He was joking, a post. You destroyed his life over Facebook. Then why, I said softly, did you bring the ring back? He stiffened, like a man caught holding evidence. He shoved the box into my hand, muttered, You'll regret this, and stormed off. His footsteps echoed down the hallway like threats trying to stay brave. I closed the door and let my palm rest over the box. My grandmother's ring, warm from his grip, but mine again. If Robert thought handing back the ring was the end, he didn't know his son as well as I did. Because the next landmine exploded in the wedding party group chat. I hadn't left yet. A part of me wanted to see the rot from inside, and then I saw it. Megan. Can't believe he found out about the Cabo Fund. Someone else replied instantly, Wait, Cabo Fund? Megan. The money Nate saved from the wedding budget. We were gonna go when Elle thought he was visiting his sister next month. Another friend. OMG, delete this before she sees. Too late. Screenshot, captured, permanent. I opened our joint savings account that night. The same account Nathan had convinced me to open. We'll be a team, Elle. One pot, one future. The numbers told the truth. Tiny withdrawals. $50 here, $100 there. Always paired with a story. Cash only for the florist. Hair trial doesn't take cards. Lies polished into routine. $2,800 gone. Every deposit traceable back to me. Not a cent from him. My salary had built the account, and his withdrawals had bled it. I closed it. Transferred the remainder, $5,400, all mine, into my personal account and severed the tie. The backlash came fast. Nathan, where is this wedding account money? Me. Closed. Took my contributions. Nathan, that was our money. Me. Check the deposits. It was mine. You already took yours. For Cabo. Silence. Then 3 dots typing. Then nothing. If money was one battlefield, spectacle was his next weapon. 2 days later, at exactly 10:30 a.m., I got a message from security downstairs. There's someone here for you. You might want to come. I didn't go. I watched from the 7th floor window. There he was. Nathan. In a tuxedo, one I hadn't paid for, yet. His tie crooked, his face streaked with purposeful tears, and in his hands, a sign written in thick black marker, Elle, you promise forever. He shouted my name up at the glass, as if forever were a contract I had defaulted on. Cameras came out. Phones rose like a forest of witness. Security stepped in. He didn't fight, but he performed. Mascara-level dramatics without the mascara. My coworkers lined up at the glass, whispering, recording. Someone filmed the whole thing. By the time they escorted him out, I wasn't angry. I was tired. Embarrassed not for myself, but for the memory of ever believing he loved me. That evening, as I scrubbed dishes that felt heavier than they should, my phone rang again. Unknown number. Ms. Hartley, this is American Express. We need to verify some accounts. My breath stopped. What accounts? 3. All opened in my name. My social, my signature, forged. Total balance, $18,000. And suddenly, Nathan's jokes weren't jokes anymore. They were crimes. When the Amex representative finished reciting the balances, my hand felt detached from my arm. Numb, almost mechanical, I grabbed a notepad and wrote every number down. 3 cards, $18,000, all in my name. I didn't cry, not then. Instead, I called the only person I trusted to make sense of it, Dimitri, my lawyer. He'd handled my late father's estate, the one thing Nathan never touched. Identity theft, he said after a long pause. Classic. Forged signatures, fraudulent applications, credit exposure. This isn't a breakup anymore, Elle. This is criminal. The word sat heavy between us. Criminal. The next morning, Dimitri drafted a cease and desist letter. Delivered to Nathan's apartment, it warned him that his workplace stunt and continued contact were harassment, and that any attempt to use my personal information again would be reported as felony fraud. That afternoon, I sent my own message, not to Nathan, but to Robert. Text. Nathan committed identity theft. $18,000 in fraudulent charges. Either he pays it back in 30 days or I press charges. His choice. Robert called within 10 minutes, his voice already raised. You're blackmailing my son. Dimitri was in my office when the call came through. I put it on speaker. It's not blackmail, Dimitri said calmly. To offer restitution before pursuing legal action. It's generous. She has every right to file today. The silence on Robert's end stretched. When he finally spoke, his voice was smaller. He doesn't have that kind of money. Then he'd better find it, Dimitri replied. TikTok. Nathan's retaliation came in predictable waves. First, a social media blitz. My psycho ex-fiancé is extorting me. I only opened those cards to help our wedding. This is financial abuse. Please, someone help me. His post ended with a GoFundMe link. No one donated. Not after I commented screenshots of the forged applications and his spreadsheet that Diana, his cousin, had quietly sent me. Yes, a spreadsheet. Diana called me that night. Her voice was weary, but not unkind. Elle, you dodged a missile. I shouldn't tell you this, but you need to know. What? He had a whole plan. He showed it off at a guys' night once like it was brilliant. Married by 30, kids by 31, quit his job by 32. He'd calculated alimony, child support, the whole thing, called it his retirement plan. My hand tightened on the phone. He actually mapped it out? Every dollar. He had your salary projections in there. 10 years married to you equaled about $3,500 a month for him, post-divorce. He researched lawyers who specialized in maximizing settlements for wives. A laugh cracked out of me, sharp, humorless. For wives. Except I'm not his wife, and never will be. Diana sighed. You're lucky you found out now. He doesn't love anyone. Just the math. Still, Robert and Janet tried one last card, my mother. Janet called her, trying the soft voice routine. You know how boys are. Military families should understand discipline. Elle is taking this too far. Can't she just forgive him? Mom put her on speaker. Your son committed felony fraud against my daughter, Mom said, clipped and steel-edged. She's lucky she isn't pressing charges today. You should liquidate whatever you need to cover his debt, or he'll be wedding planning from a federal prison cell. Janet sputtered. Robert cursed. Mom hung up. 3 days before the deadline, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Robert standing there again, but this time he wasn't carrying entitlement. He was carrying a cashier's check. $18,000, he said. His eyes looked 10 years older than the last time I saw him. Everything she owes. I said nothing, just handed it to Dimitri, who scanned it with professional detachment and nodded. Robert lingered. His voice cracked as he said, I hope you're happy. You've destroyed his life. I finally met his eyes. No, he destroyed himself. I just stopped pretending not to see it. He opened his mouth to argue, then closed it again. When he turned and walked away, his shoulders looked like they carried more than debt. That night, I sat in my kitchen, the check on the table, my grandmother's ring safely back in its velvet box. I should have felt triumph, relief, but instead I felt something stranger, emptiness. Love had rotted into fraud. A proposal had become a court case, and the man I thought I'd marry had turned my life into an evidence folder labeled Dodged Bullet. But I wasn't done yet. The world had one last twist waiting. The cashier's check cleared in 3 days. Watching the funds settle into my account was less victory than procedure, like disinfecting a wound. My credit report still bore scars, but Dimitri set me up with monitoring, alerts, layers of digital fences. The law had its paper trail. I had mine. Nathan didn't disappear. Not exactly. He just shrank. According to Diana, he spun himself as a victim of narcissistic abuse, but no one bought it. Screenshots live forever, and his training program, posts, had gone viral in their hometown. He deleted his accounts within a week. Even Megan stopped orbiting him after realizing identity theft was too much, even for her loyalty. His parents weren't faring better. Robert and Janet had taken a home equity loan to cover the $18,000. Diana whispered that arguments cracked their house open nightly. Robert blaming Janet for raising him entitled, Janet blaming Robert for bailing him out every time. Karma was serving dinner cold at their table. Meanwhile, the venue called. Ms. Hartley, the manager said, tentative. We had a cancellation for a corporate event. You still have a non-refundable deposit with us. Would you like to use it for anything else? For the first time in weeks, I smiled. Actually, yes. And so, 3 Saturdays later, I threw the party Nathan never expected, a celebration of freedom. We called it the Dodged a Bullet Bash. My friends printed t-shirts with his infamous "Can't wait to train my wife" post on the back. Petty? Completely. Cathartic? Absolutely. My mother raised a glass during her toast. To my daughter, she said, voice fierce and proud, who proved that when someone shows you who they are, you believe them the first time. The applause felt like armor reforged. At that party, I met Valentin Ruiz, a forensic accountant Dimitri had invited. He was 32, sharp-eyed, with a laugh that cracked like warm firewood. Your story made the rounds in my department, he admitted. I read about it like a case study. Romantic, I teased. Only if you like spreadsheets and red flags, he said. Then, after a pause, I think you do. We didn't rush anything. No sudden declarations, no promises scrawled in marker on poster board. Just coffee the following Tuesday. Just conversations about fraud and trust and the quiet art of watching people's tells. A slow, careful beginning. The final act came in steel and grease. I found it on Craigslist, the same motorcycle model Dad and I had rebuilt years ago, the one Nathan had guilted me into selling. An older man owned it, one who reminded me of my father in the easy way he wiped his hands on a rag and said, "She still runs, but she could use some love." We spent a weekend tuning it together, my palms filled with grease again, my ears with the rhythm of tools clinking like old songs. When the engine finally roared to life, it wasn't just metal vibrating, it was me. 2 months have passed now. Nathan's name doesn't stick in my throat anymore. His shadow is gone from my walls. I don't hate him. That would give him too much. I don't pity him either. Because here's the truth. I didn't ruin his life. I stopped him from ruining mine. And that's not cruelty. That's survival.